Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Prepping by Faith, and today I wanted to share a brief article with you guys. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I feel like this is inflation that nobody is really covering in the preparedness community, and it's something that I think that we need to shed the light upon. It is just another indicator of what we are witnessing, what we are seeing as these costs continue to soar. A lot of us have talked about the grocery hikes, the energy prices, all of the other things that we are seeing. And so I wanted to go ahead and touch on this. And this one has affected me directly. So, what I'm talking about is the cost of the home insurance rates and how much those have gone up. So, this article that I found on money.com is talking about how the cost will actually rise another 9% this year. But what I wanted to touch on is the fact that it is not just affecting, that is just a blank average across the nation. There are other states where it is a lot higher, and I am actually impacted by that in my area. So here in Colorado, our homeowners insurance was at $2,400 last year. It has since jumped up to $3,800. That's just crazy to me. And that's a huge amount to try to absorb. And it's really not something that you can risk removing if you want to have the ability to rebuild your home. And in many cases, if you don't have your loan paid off, if you still owe any money at all to the bank, then you are required to carry that. The bank isn't going to provide you that loan without homeowners insurance. So this is something that we should talk about. It's something that we should discuss. It's definitely a huge indicator of inflation. So they talk in here about how it's projected to jump 9% or by about $150, according to this recent report by online marketplace Insurify. It's saying that some areas of the country, it says the most expensive state by far is Florida, where owners can expect to pay on average of nearly $8,000 for premiums in 2023, which is a whopping 66% increase over last year. And they say that inflation is partially to blame for this across the board price hikes. And they're trying to blame some of this stuff on climate change, guys. You guys know my opinions on that matter. I don't agree with that, but that's what they say. So according to this information, they're talking about the fact that they had the expected surge in home insurance premiums in 2023 is on top of a 7% increase in 2022. And I can attest to that. I mean, we saw an increase in 2022 as well. And I don't believe it was nearly as much as it is this time, but it was still a hike nonetheless. And it's a lot to absorb. We've also seen our car insurance go up again. Obviously, not at the same rate. I think it went up $100 again for the year, but it's still an increase. It's still an additional cost that we have to absorb. And when you have vehicles that are 11 and 12 years old, you begin to question, why does this keep going up? What is happening? So it says the same inflationary pressures that are driving up your grocery bill are now driving up your home insurance rates. So this is it says it's costing more and taking longer to repair your home, increasing the average cost per claim and ultimately the cost of homeowners insurance for everyone. So they talk also in here about the catastrophic weather and natural disasters. They're attributing those to climate change. I would just say it is cyclical. It's part of the nature of the beast as far as weather patterns. So talking about an influx of water, so from flooding and also fire damages in particular, certain areas of the country are obviously prone to harsher, more severe weather and going to have a higher risk rating based on the likelihood of those natural disasters. So there's also the impact of crime related premium hikes they talk about in here as well. So the more that we see these, thefts, these burglaries, these damages to homes because of incidents like that, that's also going to drive up your rate. So be thinking about that, as we, see these prices increase and people become more desperate and commit more crimes, that's also going to drive up those rates again. So, I wanted to go ahead and hit the highlights of the top 10 on here. So they say that according to Insurify, the 10 most expensive states have average home insurance premiums above $4,000. That's a lot, guys, to absorb every year. So number one is Florida at nearly $8,000. Number two is Oklahoma at $6,853. Then we have Louisiana on here at over $5,000. Alabama, roughly around $5,000. Kansas, same. Then you've got Kentucky listed at over 4,300. And then they jump to South Dakota over 4,300, Colorado at nearly 4,200, then Texas around 4,000, and Nebraska at $4,000. So that's a lot. They also talk in here about how this caused in addition to reeling from tens of billions of dollars in damage due to recent hurricanes, they say that Florida is also grappling with this home insurance crisis caused by rampant fraud and legal system abuse, which account is the state accounting for 80% of the nation's home insurance lawsuits. So several insurers went insolvent last year, and dozens more either left Florida or stopped offering new policies in the state. So with that, as those companies, those insurance companies vacate, that's going to put more pressure on the few that remain, right? So then they're going to have that's going to drive up their premiums even more because they're going to be asked to absorb more of those incidents. It's very telling of the direction that things are going. I did read something in here about the cost of. It wasn't this particular article. There was another one where they were just talking about the fact that lumber is costing more. So what homeowners insurance does is it's protecting you in the event that something happened and they had to rebuild your home. So if they have to completely rebuild, and then you figure all of those items that are needed, the lumber, the steel, the concrete, all of the labor involved, everything is up exponentially in cost. That's what's also going to be driving up the price to rebuild that home. So I think it's something that we need to consider. And, it's not really something, like I said, that we can get away from. So we need to be building a hedge of protection as far as, finances. And how can we really do that in the current environment that we're facing? So what I wanted to do is just share a couple of things with you guys. So I feel like once you guys have, acquired the items that you use on a regular basis, once you've stocked up your water, your filtration, you've stocked up your food, you feel like you are in a good place as far as any tools that you would need in an emergency type situation, SHTF event, then I feel like you should start considering creating a hedge of protection around your finances. And one of the ways to do that is to invest in precious metals, your gold and your silver, and any other precious metals that you would want to acquire. So I did want to share with you about Genesis Gold Group in case you guys are unfamiliar with that company and you haven't heard of them. They are a Christian-based company that offers precious metals to you. You can either take possession of those yourself, or you can go ahead and invest in a gold backed IRA, in which your IRA could then be converted over to something that is gold backed, that is backed by precious metals, so that it is more in a safe haven. I am affiliated with them. I want to make that completely transparent so you guys are aware, but I still believe they are a good, solid company. I think there are a lot of them out there that aren't as upstanding, and I want you guys to ensure that your money is going exactly where you think it is. And I think it's important that we do our homework when it comes to whichever company it is that we are acquiring precious metals through, or that we are rolling over our 401ks into. It's very important that we know where those are going and who is in charge of that. And I think that going with a Christian company that understands the significance of following godly principles in dealing with other people's finances is going to be imperative when we are, handing over our money in those types of transactions. There are a lot of people that disagree with the fact that, we should have any precious metals in the prepping community. I don't think you should ever put all of your eggs in one basket. I think you need to diversify as much as possible. But I did want to point out the fact that, as we talk about, even owning your own property, if that property is paid off, you are still going to have taxes due. Taxes are also continuing to increase. Like I said, you're still going to want to have some sort of a protection as far as a homeowner's policy on there. You're going to have ways of paying for those things. And, I don't think that certain companies or our government is going to be willing to barter with you. So if you're in a situation where you're just going through a massive recession or a depression of sorts, you're going to want a way to preserve your wealth, and you're going to want a way to then convert that into, an asset that they would be willing to take. Now, whether they would be willing to take that directly, or if you converted that into cash, and then we're able to go ahead and pay those bills, I think it's a really good idea to consider. And I understand, that land and other things are really good investments, having those physical assets if you can afford to do so. But understand too that when you take on another physical asset like land, you are still going to have taxes that are due on that property. And if you don't pay those, then they could go ahead and come in and take that. So having a way to pay those taxes that are coming up is a good idea, I think, to invest in your precious metals and to have some of that on hand. I also believe that, if you have, paid off your mortgage, you are in a good place and you have an excess of cash sitting there in, a 401k or some other storage. If you have it just in, CDs or whatever else you have it in, consider putting some of that into a, gold backed IRA is not a bad idea as a wealth preserver. I think that, like I said, we have to be as diversified as possible. We need to prayerfully consider every option before us. Don't ever jump out there and just do something because I mentioned it or because somebody else mentioned it. Do your own due diligence, do your own research, and stay before the Lord in prayer about your particular situation. Not everybody is in the same financial situation. But if you do have any exposure there and you haven't considered this, it is worth looking into. Gold and silver has been, a hedge of protection as a wealth preservation in times of excessive inflation for many, many years. And for thousands of years, it has been recognized as a form of currency. It has been around, for at least 4,000 years. The Egyptians, even used it. So this is something that I just wanted to put on you guys' radar. I think it's an aspect of inflation that a lot of us haven't considered, that we haven't really paid as much attention to, but it's definitely something that we need to be aware of. And, these are the kinds of costs that we have to try to plan for if we want to be able to stay in our homes. So I want you guys to continue to pray, prep, and put God first. God bless.